and welcome to the United Devil channel with me, JB. I hope we're all doing really well this afternoon, just about wherever you are in the world. We are the morning after the night before, which was the obviously the end of the transfer window. Now, I hope we're all doing extremely well today. Obviously, I've had time to reflect on the window. And basically, yeah, want to know to get your opinions in. Obviously, I'm going to get my opinions on this as well. Let me just random things. Hello, my friend. I hope you're doing really, really well today. Let's see where we go. Scott, Agent Scott, was good. JB, life is good. I guess the kids have gone back to school today. Sorry, I missed so many streams. No worry at all. Big up JB. I think we finish anywhere from 8th to 12th. If we get injuries, it could be worse. Interest. So if you are new here, then feel free to get into chat. This is one of the best communities on this platform, and I don't just say that. Last night's show was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed these sort of towards the end of the show. Mine go back tomorrow. Yeah, mine went back today, so it's so I can sort of stream a lot of this again. Um, the sort of only thing I find when I stream like this is that I don't get as many views, just purely because I think so many people use the vertical view. But let's see how we go. I might sort of revert back, but I think once the stuff is done in here, it's going to look a little bit better, hopefully. Um, yeah, I just think that the vertical stream, I don't want to exclusively go back to the vertical stream, but I might have to for now, just to get the numbers up right. So let's see how we do. I do like to do this. It means I can do so much more with a PC in front of me and some screens, and it just means I can do a bit more. So I'm just testing um, the water. Um, let's see, shall we? Jamie Vargas, good morning. I think we will finish ninth, and Lament will be good addition. Should have got an Emmy. Um, Namir does things. Those toes earbuds you recommended are good. Great. I love your analysis. Thank you very much. There will be some more videos going live on my other channel as well. Really, to be honest with you, this is my priority right now. Hit that like button, guys. Get into the chat. Let me know how you're doing today, where you are in the world, and all that amazing stuff. So let's get through it. I guess what I wanted to go through first for me. Could you read my upper comment? What did we say? Okay, so is Zach officially at Liverpool? We're going to be crazy. My only thing about that, my friend, is no disrespect, but I kind of Liverpool for me. I mean, I don't mind talking about the odd things here and there, but Liverpool for me is I'm not bothered about them. Happily read things out, but I think we need to stay on topic right now. It's just yeah. I mean, Liverpool are Liverpool. We are a different club. No disrespect to them or to you, but right now, I think we need to be concentrating on our own club and not necessarily on other people come. But feel free to get those comments in. So I think what I wanted to go on to first is as predicted, really. It's no surprise to me that the media spin starts to begin now. There's this spin out there on how bad we're going to be. Do you think Amrin will walk soon? Because I I do. He's not been back now. Yeah. Do you know what I'll do, Scott? As you've come on to that, I think let's go through that first. I think. Yeah. Let's pivot. Let's pivot onto Amrin and let's pivot where I think we are with him now. A lot of comments yesterday. um. Yeah. I think that Namuda's random thing says, as a Liverpool fan, I think Frank is the best manager in the league, and Amorim is the worst, and Pep is second best, and Potter is the second worst. I disagree, my friend. I don't think Thomas Frank is the best manager in the league at all. Again, you're entitled to your opinion. Of course, you are. I don't think Amorim is the worst. I disagree with that. I don't think Pep is the second best. I think Pep has run his course. I don't see Pep last in the season, and if he does, I think that he will basically fizzle out at some point. But that's just my opinion on it. You know, Liverpool fans, you're in a fantastic position. We need a midfielder. Do you think we'll get one in the January window? Jamie Vargas, good point, my friend. I will come on to that as well. We can encapsulate that into what we're going to talk about first. So Amorim, as we know, Amorim is not happy, and as you say, he needed a midfielder. He was talking about it. Apparently, it's coming out that so Omar Neil Driscoll, afternoon, my friend. So Omar, basically was on the phone yesterday, which contradicts what I'll talk about in regards to the spin as well. So apparently, he was on the phone for midfielders yesterday. I don't know why we didn't manage to get a midfielder, considering now I think Mason Mount is injured, Cunha's injured, and why that impacts the squad is because, as we all know, Casemiro is not good enough. He's not intense enough. Mason Mount is injured, so that means that Fernandez may have to fill in as the number 10. But by really sorry, I have to go to donate £10 on one of your videos. I'm not sure if it glitched or not. Sorry, I donated. Um, Honestly, do not worry about that for now. In other news, obviously the channel is now getting bigger, and with that, super chats and stuff like that, and memberships will be activated. But before I do all that sort of thing. Um, yeah, I want to get your guys' input into where you want the channel to go, because ultimately, I'm I s- if friend says I still need 2CM1 right back. Agreed with you. Yeah, as the channel grows, obviously there are big things happening behind the scenes, and eventually memberships and that kind of stuff. But I don't just this is not just a means for a cash cow. Free memberships, 100%. This channel is I want to offer value for money, right? So what I want from you guys is, let me know what's kind of membership things that you want to see, the content that can be exclusive, and that kind of stuff as well. So you can get all that in as it. Oh, this camera, genuinely, this camera absolutely bugs me. Do you know what? Can you at least pay for a new camera? I'm joking. I'm joking. I do have cameras that I'm going to use. I've just been waiting on the back wall to get finished. I've got ideas. Anyway. Let's get back to the show. So Amarin, as we know, centre midfielder, as you've all said in the chat, any free to look at. I mean, I just, as we spoke about, the money has gone back into the club, hasn't it? The money has had to go back into the club because of the debt and all that kind of stuff as well. So, I you know, that is I think where we are with that now. Amarin isn't happy. So as we all know, Amarin wanted a centre midfield for this pivot. This pivot is really, really key. And as we've just said, Mason Mount is out. Who knows how long he's out for? We also know that Cunha, I think, is out for a couple of weeks as well. So Fernandez is going to be used. So who's going to now play in that pivot? Ugarte isn't up to it right now. Casemiro is he can't play in a two, but that perseverance with the two is not going to pay off. He's not going to get any better. Mainu wanted to leave, and that's part of the course as well. So as we know, you know, be careful. The one thing that I'll say to this club, and the one thing I will say to the Amarin out brigade, and as you know on here, I'm not one to indoctrinate people. I'm not telling you to to listen to me in terms of my opinion. I offer you my opinion, and you get your opinions in as well. I don't get the transfer. United go for V, have Shesko in, not pay the money for CM. Exactly, exactly that. It is a ridiculousness why they wouldn't go for a CM. Now, Amarin cannot be happy with this. Now, as we all know, Amarin has already offered to walk twice, publicly, or offered to walk once already. Now, how does that sit with people? Um, that's one question that I would like to know before I give my opinion on that. So we know he's not happy. He wasn't happy before, and now he's not going to be happy, is he? He knows. He knows. Wilcox know as well. That this centre midfield issue is going to cost him. He's already prefixed that at the very start of the season with basically saying that we're going to suffer this season, and I do believe that we are now. One of my, I say we play with a fake nine in Mount. The problem with that is Efrain is as much as I get that. Can you believe that Onana asked for a new contract when he came from pre-season? What a joker! Um, what an absolute joker! I mean, that is just a ridiculousness, right? The problem for me with playing a false nine is, why are we playing a false nine? No one else plays with a false nine. Now, I know we're trying to do something else, and I know we're trying to be different, Scott. Uh, it is. It's unbelievable. Now, the problem with me with playing a fake nine is, why are we playing a false nine? I'm not disagreeing with your comment. I think it's probably a very, very intelligent comment to say, right? But why are we playing with a false nine? Liverpool have bought two strikers. Why would Liverpool spend 125 million pounds on one striker, and they've got two strikers? Why are we playing a false nine? I mean, I just, I just don't know. So Aaron, for me, is not going to be happy. As I say, he's publicly um, offered his resignation, I think once or twice. Um, I just, I'm going to say this because I want it on here, so people can refer back to it, and then people can come back at me. Now, with Amorim outers, I'm not opposed, and I completely get where you are on the subject matter of Amorim. I get it completely. But be careful what you wish for. Because if Amorim goes and Amorim walks, what are we going to do next? Now, I think those of you who are Amorim out, you may get your wish. I will state here again, every stream right now is going to be like this. It is going to be defending Amorim. The knives are out for him already. There's this Bruno and Casemiro need to help in Mount. Mate, Bruno and Casemiro are not up to it, mate. They're not up to it. Mason Mount is the problem with Mason Mount is that what you've got to understand, what you got to understand is that Mason Mount is done. Like, he's absolutely done. Like, his injury is a career-threatening injury that could go at any point. Now, the fact that he's playing again, the fact that he's having his minutes managed, the guy's injured again. Like, will he come back? I don't know, but he's injured again. We cannot rely on Mason Mount. I don't dispute that he's a decent player. I don't prescribe, and I don't get into all this. Mason Mount is this fantastic, amazing player. He was. I like him. I think he's a decent player, but he's not the Chelsea Mount. He's not that player. And I think, no disrespect to anybody that thinks that. I think ultimately people have their opinions, and as I always say, people have that opinion. But Mason Mount isn't there. So Amorim cannot be happy. He's already asked for a centre midfielder. He's so many players behind. Casemiro is on retirement leave. You know, he's not the player that he was. He's off next year. You know, Mason Mount is injury prone. Cunha is now injured. You know, Ugarte, he clearly doesn't rate Ugarte. You know, Mainu asked to leave. You know, Mainu asked to leave. You know, and so we've got players in there who are not up to it, players who don't want to play. We've also got players playing out of position as well. So for those of you who are Amorim out, I'll go back to the chats as well. So for those of you who are Amorim out, I really believe that you're just be careful what you wish for, because if Amorim goes, who's next in? That's all I'm asking. The question is, if Amorim, look at it this way, right? If Jose can't get a tune out of this team, and I'm not saying this particular team, but nothing's really changed, has it? If Ollie, I mean, there's a myth around Ollie. There's a massive myth around Ollie. You know, I like him, but I think there's a massive, massive myth around him. Ten Hag, well, look how that's turned out with Ten Hag. I do think Ten Hag is really, really unfortunate. People may not agree with that statement, but I think as much as Ten Hag probably sets back in terms of the signings, but he didn't make those signings. He could have been told no. So I think that's a combination of Ten Hag and the management that we had at the time. That Amorim was clearly coming to this club with a clear mandate, a clear definition of what he wanted. I don't necessarily think he wanted the world. I just think he wanted a centre midfielder. Scott says, I see where they're coming from, but it will be the same exactly. It will cost more to sack Amorim than it will have to buy a new midfielder. I agree. So it's Ineos costing themselves money to neglect the midfield. Exactly. Yes, facts. Mount, Shaw, Bruno, Casemiro, Harry have to go. The big problems is the Glazer. I agree with you. Agree. I need Qatar in the only way back into the transfer market. Go big. United can have Zidane, Klopp, Pep. No one will win. Go only for flop play in the transfer market. The backroom staff don't understand how to back their manager. I think these are all pertinent points. And again, this topic today is not whether Amorim is in or out. You know, we've done an amazing video on that one. This is more about, you know, I understand. And again, if you're Amorim out in, let us know in the chat. Now, Amorim, I think what we need to realise here, and I think this has been overlooked as well, is that as we've had a difficult start in terms of Arsenal was a very, 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 very difficult start. We looked okay. Fulham again. People will happily big up Fulham as anybody else, but they'll disrespect Fulham when it comes to playing us, right? Fulham are a good team. Should we have put them away? Yes. But Fulham are full of experienced Premier League players away from home. That's not an easy game to go to. Grimsby was an abject disaster. We don't know who, what, why, where happened there. And then, you know, Burnley was Burnley. You know, people will say that we it was a smash and grab. We got fortunate in that game. You know, I disagree with that completely. Glazer, Starbucks, CR7 money, 90 million. Glazer go to the transfer market for Owen for free. Exactly. And many moons ago that was. So for me, you know, when you're looking at a manager, let's have a little look. Mark Harris, welcome to the chat, legend of the chat. As always, Mark Harris says, don't you think the fans deserve better than Dalot, Bruno, Shaw, Mount, Anana, mediocre players on top wages? Kone, Chido, Main, you're not giving minutes. How can you be Amrin? I'll answer that, Mark. You know, I think the show last night was about, you know, you guys giving your opinions. I tried not to give my opinion last night, but for me, I do agree. I'm not going to disagree with the first statement. You know, Luke Shaw, Obi says, Hi JB, hello my friend. I hope you're doing really, really well today. Now, I agree. Dalot, Luke Shaw, Mount, Anana, 100%. 100%. Those were signed by the old regime. I'll always say this: joint venture with Ineos. Again, you can have the argument and basically say that Ineos are not culpable for the signings. They weren't here when these signings happened. As I said yesterday, when you commit a crime, and if you were in a group of people and you do nothing, you just stand by and do nothing, and you're idle, or you're involved in some way, shape, or form, but you know that there's a crime happening. It's joint venture. Okay, you are involved. If you don't, sometimes not doing anything is worse. Let's have a look. I was having a think. Yes, we got rid of the bomb squad, but I'm changing my window scores from a 4 to a 3 because of the spin that's come out this morning. We had more than enough time to get CM. Interesting, Scott. Interesting. Very, very interesting. On that one. Yeah, I mean that I don't disagree. You've got to look at the entire window, and I don't disagree on that. I mean, I scored it a 5. I've already taken that down to a 4 myself. Um, yeah. So back to Mark's comment. So joint venture for me, Ineos. Ineos didn't have to stick their nose in. Ineos would have come into this club, and as they run like a business, and this is where I am on it, right? So Ineos would have come in as a business. Whenever you buy a business or you get involved with business, you make sure you understand the business, you understand your assets, understand your ins and outs, understand your balance sheet, understand your P&L, cash flow, everything like that. You've got to come into the business. Now, Ineos knew about these players, overpaid players. They would have had a like an itinerary or whatever it's called of different players. The values of the players, their how good they are. And if they didn't, then they're fools. But they still decided to buy into this club. They still decided to stick their nose into this club to bail the Glazers out and keep these players. And then they're cost cutting. They are cutting the squad, cost cutting the squad. And as it's transpired, as we always said, wait till the end of the window, and then we see where we are. So hence why we did the show last night. So Ineos are culpable for this. They didn't have to buy this club, so we didn't have to penny pinch, but we are, and that's what the Glazers wanted to do, and that is what they've got. So to go back to Mark Harris, I agree, but Mark not playing Kone, Chido, and Mainu, that's no reason for me to be hammering out. Mainu is a good example. As we've spoken about on here with Mainu, he had that awful season last season because he was burnt out. He was too much, too soon, too young. Cheeto is 17, Mark. Mate, I respect your opinion, but I cannot be hammering out based on Cheeto, Mainu, and Kone not playing. They're clearly too young, not good enough. Cheeto is not going to come into this side and fix this side. Kone is not going to come into this side and fix this side. Kone is a child. He's a kid. He still has to grow. It is just. He absolutely, Mark, and that I will respect that opinion. I'm not putting your opinion down. I'm just giving my own. I'm just responding to that question, right? Um, you know, he's not responsible for Delo, for Bruno, for Shaw, for Mount, Anana. How can he be responsible for that? And then Kone, Chido, and Mainu. If these players come into the squad, they'll be burnt out. Mainu is being burnt out. So for me, 100% no. I mean, I can't be hammering out based on the fact he's not playing academy players. It's just, what are we going to do? Chido is what, 17? 17-year-old who is not Rooney. He's not Rooney. He's not that player. I can't be hammering out based on that. I just can't be, my friend. My friend says Liverpool, Arsenal, City all go for world-class players in the transfer all the time. They do, but they're run properly. They are run properly. I'll give you my opinion as to where I'm at with Amorim and this system as well. Like Harris, it would be great to see the whole under 23 with a few pros playing a cup game. Amorim full strength every game. How can you youth develop? The problem is, Mark, is that when you look at what Fergie did, right? Fergie had a team exclusively full of pros and then brought in the young players because he had an embedded team that worked hard. How can you have inexperienced under 23 players with pros in it? Like that for me just would I think that would be a disaster. I think that would be an abject disaster. You've got no leadership in there. What are these are kids, who don't understand Premier League football, who don't understand men's football. Look, who's going to guide them? This is why it's so important you have an established pro team of experienced players, and then you bring in those players. Mark, I get it. I understand this need for change, Mark, and maybe that would be the best option. But for me, and I think that if you think it's bad now, if you play a bunch of kids with 2 or 3 pros, it will be a disaster. It will be an absolute disaster, and it'll be even worse. And then, of course, Amrin will get the flack for playing kids. So Amrin can't win. He's on a hiding to nothing. Um, I'm sick about the transfer window. I agree with you. Blue Edits 30. Hey, I love the new setup. This is a temporary one as well. I mean, to be honest with you, the vertical format tends to work quite well for this channel because it's quite small. And just by looking at the numbers watching on here now, the vertical stream does well, better than this, which is a massive pain. I want to do more of this. I have got plans. I've got plans. Trust me. I'm using a webcam right now, but I've got a massive camera. I've got all the bits and bobs that I need. But for now, the vertical stuff. So I'm gonna flip between this and the vertical streams just to see what works next. I saw the video and don't want to be negative, but Lamens isn't great on corners, which is slightly concerning. But I believe in himself to turn it around. I will do a video on Lamens as well. I will do one on that as well, and it'll be a slightly different one to this. It's not going to be a live video. I'll do a video on that as well, and then you can make your mind up on that as well. If friend says United need to play 4-3-3, Dorgu, Diego, Yoro, Delit, Ugarte, Mainu, Shesko, Cunha, and Burmo, goalkeeper, new in. Diego for me is a no. Amarin's not going to play a 4-3-3. I agree with you. I can't disagree. Okay. I'll tell you where I am on that as well. Let me get through these chats, and then I'll come back to all this as well, my friend, because I think you make a good point there. Leon for me is not it. Again, he's 18 years old. He's clearly not ready. Scott says you need a mixture of youth and experience. Agree. We need experience more than we do youth. We just don't have the experience. We just don't have the right experience in this group of players right now to even think about bringing in the youth. I mean, Cheetah, there's. I'm sorry to say this, but Cheetah right now, there's a myth. There's a myth. Don't get me wrong. Again, he has to go, but he's not the next Haaland. He's. We want to spin this, and the club want us to spin it all because they think that we got this gem on our hands. I don't think we have. Like I'm not seeing it. I don't see it. Cheeto's 17, 18, and you can argue that he needs experience. He needs time to play. He's too young. He's far, far, far too young. Neil Driscoll says 50-50 for me with Amorim right now. We only have one leader at this club that is angry, wants to win and get in anyone's face, and that is Lucha. He's the only angry Kino out of club, but he's always injured. Exactly, Obi. I think that's a very, very good point to make, my friend. Also, Yoro as well. Euro, there was a game where Harry Amas played last season, and he was getting bullied in the box, and Euro was the only one to get into someone else's face. Obi, I agree with you. We need play. Like I say, Obi, what this club needs to do now is go to war. And what I mean by that is not abusing of fighting fans, is that we need to come together, we need to close ranks, and as a club, we need players who want to rip. To contradict slightly what I've said there, we need players who want to fight for each other, who want to rip opponents' heads off, not actually, but have that mentality of you hurt one of our players, we're coming for you. So that is what we need. But you're right, we don't have that. Lucky Singh says the Glazers out. Mason Mount not injured. Um, I will confirm this. A friend says Sunderland can more than 11 players, but Sunderland is a slightly different proposition than us. Yes, but they're buying. They're getting was it Xhaka for a low fee or on a free? I mean, if you want him, then that's fine. But Sunderland is they're not buying 70 million pound players, are they? They're buying kind of cheap, cheerful players who they think could be the next big thing, but it's just not the same. If not, manager going to tell players have their own way. The Blue Edit says my 11 against City will be Lemens, Delict, Maguire. Not sure about wing backs, Delo and Mazraoui. Centre midfields Ugarte, Bruno, attackers Shesko, Cunha, and Imbermo. Interesting one. Interesting team selection. Now I think we're missing. I know. I thought we were missing a centre back then for a second. Judging Amorim on what he does right now, do I think that he'll play Lemens? No, I don't. Do I think he should? Yes. Um, for whatever we think about these players, we've got to back them, and I will come on to that as well. Cheeto is not ready. None of our youth players are ready to break into the first team. That's the issue. It's not a skill issue. It's physicality and fitness. I agree with you completely. Mason Mount's not injured. Mason Mount has only a sprained ankle. He won't be going to international football. He will be back for the Premier League. Blue Edits 30 says, get Paul Scholes in if you want to fight, but Bruno may be a baby to the rivals, actually fights for us. So, Amorim. So let's go back to all this. So, Amorim, for me, he's not happy. He is not happy. I wonder if he's still going to be stubborn. Do I think? Do I think? Right. This is what ultimately I think that is that Amorim. Do I think we should change the system to accommodate these players? Yes and no. No, because we shouldn't be pandering to Luke Shaw. We shouldn't be pandering to these players who can't play the system because it's too difficult. Because they are low IQ players who find it too hard to run and they can't do it for every single game because it's too hard and they can't do it. No, we shouldn't be pandering to that. But I think where I have to accept, and where I do agree with some of you, is that Amrin does need to tweak the system, because ultimately, right, if you don't have the players to play your system, why would you force them to play your system? It's a bit like me trying to build a car. Not that I can build a car, by the way. Or it's basically a bit like me trying to build a PC, right? It's a bit like me trying to build a high-end gaming PC. That pretty much is. But it's a bit like if me trying to build a high-end PC with low-end PC parts and then complaining that it can't play the latest FIFA or the latest thing in like 8K, 120 FPS, but I'm still going to persevere with it, right? I'm still going to moan and complain that it doesn't work and I'm not going to change the parts to it. Well, that's what Amarin's got, I like him. I want him to stay, but persevering with this back five, 2-2-1. If your players can't play it, tweak your system. You know, This is probably my only frustration with him. I've got two frustrations with him right now. Is one, when you've got somebody who constantly says they're going to go and they're going to leave and they're going to offer up. How are these players supposed to trust him? How are how are we who are Amorim in supposed to trust this guy? Like, I want to back him with everything I've got, right? Many of you don't. I get it. Many of you are 50-50. But if I'm telling you guys and I'm saying I'm backing this manager, and I get he's passionate, I get that. I'm not disputing that. All right. But when you've got a guy constant, it's like your wife or your girlfriend or your, whatever, saying to you, I'm going to leave you. Like, if you don't stop this, I'm going to leave you. I'm not happy. Like, if you don't do this, I'm unhappy and I'm going to leave. That trust erodes, that trust goes. So I'm trying to back this manager. I'm trying to say, look, I want you to succeed. I really hope you do. But he's constantly saying he's going to leave. So how are people supposed to properly back this guy? If he walks, good on him. But I'm finding it really difficult for the first time to totally back this guy. How am I supposed to talk about it on here saying that he's the guy and he needs time, and I'm not agreeing with some of you on here, and he's prepared to walk? I'm finding that really, really difficult. The other thing I find really difficult at the moment as well is this, as you guys say, this tweaking of his system, you know, this stubbornness, is Ugarte so bad that Casemiro gets into this team? Casemiro, who's been abjectly terrible, he's not been playing great. Fernandez is not a number 8, sometimes a number 6. He's not. So it's so frustrating. Luke Shaw, fine. I know centre backs, we've got 2 centre backs kind of injured, but Luke Shaw's been caught out a number of times because he doesn't have the pace anymore. It's this, it's this, it's this constant wanting to leave and offer to leave, and then there's this constant stubbornness when we all know he needs to tweak his system slightly, not to pander to the players, but because that's the place that you've got. You can't make them do your system because they can't do it. So those two for me are the things right now that I find it very, very difficult to deal with. Um, let's have a little look, see what fact time. OB, we've had many different coaches, managers with many different tactics. No matter the manager, no matter the tactics, we struggle to do the basics in defense, midfield, up front is the place. Exactly, OB. And that's it. And that's it. I think that's exactly what I'm trying to allude to here, is the fact that as much as Amorim, there are some red flags for me, and there really are. The common theme here are the players. Different set of players, same issues. You get we needed a reset. Now you can argue that you can't get rid of a whole team. Maybe an ambitious manager for me would, an ambitious club, sorry, would look to just shift these players out. But factually, we don't have the money. So Amarin is now being tasked to basically work wonders with a team that finished 15th last season, which I think is I don't see what he can do with that. Xerxes, Majraoui back and looking fit. Mason Mount, lucky. I mean, yeah, Mason Mount for me is not the answer. I don't look at Mason Mount and go, thank God he's back, or we're going to win a game. That's not for me. If players can't be bothered to play for you, then the tactics formation won't make any difference. Exactly that. I agree with you. As much as the formation thing could be tweaked, is it his tactics? Not really. Is it a formation? Not really. It probably can be, because if you've got players who can't play it, but they're working hard, it can be. But Grimsby, you know, you shouldn't need a formation against them. If you've got season pro, you put them in a formation and say, guys, go and win this game. You don't need to think too much. Just go and win this game against League 4 players. And that's no disrespect to Grimsby. It just goes to show how terrible we actually are. The board also made the wrong decisions, sacking managers, letting players go. Exactly, I think um, De Gea was awful. It's into this problem. It's not the managers. Ob, I agree. I do agree in part. Not all the managers can come away with it scot free. I'd probably say 90%. Ten Hag was very very stubborn towards the end as well. What can't be argued is that Rashford got him sacked. This perseverance with Ten Hag about Rashford got him sacked. Yes, he didn't have the right players. But again, I think 95% the board, the wrong players. You can argue Amorim is probably the wrong coach. No, that's not on Amorim. That is on the board. Um, Obi says, call Klopp and Pep in right now. I guarantee 100% they'll both fail under this board and these players. Exactly, Obi. You could call any manager in this world other than Allardyce, other than Dyche, and they'll just get you playing survival football with these players. And if you think it's going to get better, I think you're. I think that, and this is no disrespect. All I'm going to say is just be careful what you wish for, because ultimately, if you want this manager sacked or he walks, be careful what you wish for, because I can only see bad times ahead. So if you are hammering out, I think possibly you're going to see some stuff maybe in this window. Even I think if he's so annoyed, he's a very tempestuous guy. you know I'm not a fan of that. Some people are. Some people will say he's a very very passionate guy. I think you can be passionate, but I think Amarin is feeding this as well. I mean, for me right now, this is just a disaster. Um, so to go on to the media spin as well, I'm going to change the topic slightly. This move away from the coach and the team. So in the Manchester Evening News, the MEN, there's an article in here that says why United did not sign a midfielder in the transfer window. Um, I'm just having a little look at this. So United did not consider strengthening their midfield as a priority this summer. Cunha, Mbermo, Shesko, Lemens, and Leon were signed in the summer window, but United didn't strengthen Amorim's midfield options. Now, Leon, for me, trying to stick him in as a transfer in this window is tenuous as hell. But United sources have said the midfield is never a read that again. United sources said the midfield is never a priority due to already having options that the club views as strong and versatile. I just let that sink in for a second, right? Versatile and strong. So is that why Amron said that they needed some midfielders? Is that why they went in for Baliba? Is that why they were looking at Gume? Is that why Omar was looking at midfielders yesterday? It's just a load of bollocks. What a load of nonsense. So are they honestly telling us? And this has obviously been briefed by the club, and this is being briefed by the club. It's either briefed by the club or the MEN have just made this up and pulling it out of their arse, which I don't probably think that they are. But so apparently we didn't go for a midfielder because we're happy with what we got. So Casemiro is on holiday. Absolute just dreadful. Dubai says I was at Leverkusen's channel when they hired him and seeing all Ten Hag fans and sympathisers and saying how United ruined a manager and how Leverkusen will revive his legacy. 2 matches, and do you know what? To that Eric Ten Hag thing as well. Now the media, and again, this will come in a spin as well, right? So this is all about spin as well, right? So this will come into the spin. Is that it's our fault? Apparently, we've destroyed him. Now, never mind. Ten Hag went into Leverkusen, who'd lost Alonso, lost 5, 6 players, who lost 5 of their star players. Probably I don't think they were replaced that well. What's he supposed to do? Like again, What is he supposed to do? Like he's been he's been parachuted into a club who've lost 5 or 6 signings, who've lost 5 or 6 of their players, a manager, absolute restarting again, but yet he's not the guy, and then yet it's our fault again. I mean, it is just, and this is what I'm talking about. Spin. This does all feed into the spin as well. So apparently, because we've got Fernandez, who's Casemiro, Ugarte, Mason Mount, and Menu are midfield options. Um, I disagree. Um, Mason Mount is not a midfielder. You could, by that statement, well, what are you going to lump Cunha in there as well? Um, Mbeumo in there as well. Mason Mount is not a midfield player. He doesn't have the legs. He doesn't have the ferocity. He doesn't have the intensity to play in that role. Again, this is just such. This is just such been. Casemiro is just the reason why Casemiro is playing in there is because I think Amorim was trying to make a statement. I also think Ugarte is not up to it. Mainu wanted to leave. This is just absolute spin. And then it goes on to say that they inquired about Balaba's availability. Brighton valued the player around 100 million. However, they'd spent 250 millions on signing, making it difficult to finance a marquee midfield arrival. Now, again, I'm calling crap on that. So, apparently there was a credit facility. You know, Baleba was not going to cost 100 million up front. It was going to be 30 million, maybe as a first payment. You know, and there was a credit facility. This is what I mean about spin. When they wanted to spin us around, there was a credit facility available, so they could do signings. This spin, this spin again, and it's all coming out. And this is why I said, let's wait until the end of the window before we start looking and before we start talking about this. It's so obvious how they planned this window was. They didn't get their striker target. Thank God he went to Chelsea. He's now injured. He's looked absolutely awful. Gyökeres the same in some respects. I'm glad that we didn't get him. Ekatike probably looks the best of the lot, but you look at the team that he's in. This spin, this constant spin that it took us 7 weeks to do that deal. This window's been planned out. We always knew. I did anyway, that we were going to elongate this window. That's why we took 7 weeks, because it's just a massive chunk of time. So we don't have to do deals. Sheska was done, and then we were linked to everybody. The club allowed us to put that there, and now we're spinning it again. So we don't need signings, and apparently it goes on to say that we're going to revisit the centre midfielder in the January window. What a load of shit. We never do business in the January window. It's again, you can just tell. You can just absolutely tell what a load of nonsense. It is just the spin from this club, and people lap it up, people buy it. It's just a load of nonsense. Let me go through the chat again. I like Ten Hag. I wanted him to go do well. It didn't work for us at all, but that doesn't mean I want him to fail. Exactly. I wanted him to succeed. The things that he was called a bald fraud and all this sort of stuff. Disgusting. Disgusting. Again, another manager spat out by this media, spat out by this club. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. It's the same spin every year. Mark Harris, question for JB: would you take Jose back? 100,000 million percent no. What's he going to do? Jose is just a bitter. He doesn't have the magic anymore. Fenerbahce, you get sacked. And no disrespect to the Turkish league, but you get sacked from that club. I mean, he's done. Jose is done. Why the hell? Mark, be careful again. Be careful what you wish for, because if Amorim walks, possibility is there as a a caretaker manager. He knows now what to expect from this club. He'd be happy to take a job. It will be very, very, very toxic, very, very quickly, and these players would absolutely love that. These players would love him to come in. He'll go to play in that unattractive defensive football. He'll love Shesko. He'll love this back 4-5. You watch it. It will get toxic very, 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 very quickly. So it's a no from me. I am with the manager Xerxes, Majraoui, Mount, Kobe, Mainu, Ugarte, Cunha, in Burmo, Leon. Mainu don't want to be here. Mainu wanted to go on loan. I don't see I don't see what sort of a season that Mainu now will have. He wanted to go on loan. You know, when you keep a player here against his will, what do we expect is going to happen? I'm sorry. Mainly for me, is going to take a couple of weeks now to get into the squad. But again, he's fighting against Fernandez for his place. He's never winning that, is he? So we're creating toxicity one game at a time. That is exactly. You can see it again. You can just see it. You can just see it. You can just see it. I wasn't sure we'd get Baliba. What's transpired is that we were offered 55. The Baliba stuff was nonsense. We were never in for him. We were just trying to buy time in the window. We knew we were going to make sales. All this money that we've saved hasn't been reinvested back into this club, and it's not going to be. It's just not going to be reinvested back into this club. It's going to be swallowed up by the club in their debts. That is who we are now. January will be loans if needed due to fitness levels or injuries. Next major signings will be summer 2026. Exactly that. Exactly. There is something about a midfielder in Jan and a lone striker, but nothing concrete yet, but worth keeping an eye. OB, I mean, mate, for me, what's it going to do? I mean, you know, for me, by the January window, Amorim could be gone. I think it's 50-50. I'm taking it every single game. I just wanted to say this as well. Let me get through the chats, and then I'll tell you where I'm at with the coach right now, and I tell you where I'm at, um, and then let me know. Scott says the fans and the media want things to click right away. It doesn't happen like that. 10% of the time it works. Where you get a manager and it works straight away. You look at Slot. Slot got given a team. Okay, yeah, fine. Slot still has to go into that club and still has to do something, because if he wasn't great, they wouldn't have won the league. But their transition was fantastic. That doesn't happen a lot. I think Liverpool played it blinding. They they just know what to do. Yet we give a manager, we've played 4-3-3, 4-4-2 our whole lives, and then we've basically brought in a manager to play a completely different system from our whole history, and then wonder why it's not going well. He's just lumping crap on top of crap. Lamens is always the keeper, just so you all know. Exactly. OB, on here, we said that. We always said keep calm. Lamens is the one. Lamens is the one that's going to come in. It was always him. We were just elongating this window because we didn't want to make any more signings. Toxic MUFC, big up, mate. I hope you're doing really, really well, my friend. I think we are solid chance of top 5 because Villa are out of form. It's only Tottenham or us. Toxic. Respect your opinions, my friend. There is no way. I admire your opinion. I always will. But for me, this camera. I don't see how, mate. I just don't see it. This is a very, 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 very competitive league this year, and I just don't know how we get into a top 5. I'm sorry, mate. I just don't see it. You know, Brighton are competitive. West Ham even came in and won a game. I just don't see with this midfield how we get into a top, a top five race. Grimsby's going to happen more. We lost to Grimsby. Like we finished 15th last season. We lost to Grimsby. We scraped by a Burnley who've just come up and like they gave us a game. I just don't see it, man. I think I admire people who want us to do well, and I really do. I really want to be on board with that. I absolutely. Um, Brighton beat City. West Ham, don't sleep on West Ham, but I don't think that West Ham are really going to do anything. Let me look at the Premier League table. Um, Premier League table. Let me see. Okay, so when we're looking at teams now, Everton, you can argue, are they going to fall away? I think Everton could have a really, really good season. Sunderland won't. Bournemouth, they've lost a ton of players. Palace, Forest, Brighton, Leeds, City, Burnley. Now I'm looking at those teams, right? So maybe you've got a point. Liverpool, no chance. Chelsea, no chance. Arsenal, zero chance. City will be there or thereabouts. Um, I just don't think. I just can't see. I just can't see. I think the Grimsby game has absolutely shook me to my core. I think is really, really surprised me. If we're capable of that, I just don't believe in this. I just don't believe in this team. I'll back it. I'll back it, and I'll give you my opinion on that. I'll back it. I'll back them every game, but I just don't believe in this team. Toxic says, I don't think Brighton and West Ham are threats. Brighton, for me, are threats. West Ham are not. So where am I on this team? Where am I on this coach? Now, I'll back him. As I said, I'm Amorim in. I will back this manager. I will back this team. There is no point right now, calling these players out anymore. Right? We are where we are with these players. Right? We need to back them. I will be critical each and every game. I'm not going to lie and say that I'm not going to be, because that would be an utter lie. But I am going to support these players. I think it's my, I can't be Amorim in and not support these players. So I'm worried. I'm just going to say this now. I'm worried for this manager. Ineos haven't fully backed him. You can argue they've spent 200 million on him, but he needed more than that. Did he need two number 10s? Probably not. But I'm backing him because the alternative for me is terrifying. I've got to back this guy. I'll back these players. I hope Mason Mount plays well, Luke Shaw, Casemiro. If they can get us into a top five, then I'll be proved wrong. But I just don't see it. For me, I think we finished top 10. I think we finish in and around ninth. I just don't see how we don't. That's not me being pessimistic. As I say, we'll go from game to game, and I will support these players. 100% support these players because we have to. For me, there's no point. There's no point right now being bitter about it. Centre midfield isn't here. What can we do? So where I'm at now, I think I want to cut through this media spin. There's going to be so much spin over the next couple of days. There's going to be spin. Martinez can play CDM. Toxic, can he though? Can he play CDM? Possibly, but Toxic. Martinez is done, mate. Martinez has been out for 2 years, pretty much. He's just had an ACL injury. Martinez is done. When we're talking about ferocity and we're talking about athleticism and we're talking about that, I have no qualms that Martinez could play that position, and I've no qualms that he will have the fire and he will spur this team on. but athleticism, mate, he's done. He's done. He's had an ACL on top of the injuries that he's had before. Martinez is what, 26, 27. Let me have a look. Martinez United. Um, see how old he is. Um, see how old he is. Sandro. He is 27. So Lissandro Martinez is 27. He will be 28 in January. He's done. I hate to say it. He's done. He's not coming back as a CDM. I'd put him in the Luke Shaw sort of state now. I hope he comes back. I really, really do. But the amount of injuries he's had in the last 2 years, and then when you cap it off with an ACL, he's done, my friend. He's not going to be that guy anymore. Yes, he. It just reminds me of Solskjaer when Solskjaer kind of did. He was out for about 2.5 to 3 years. He kept coming back. Did his ACL. When Martinez comes back off of that ACL, he's going to get injured again. He's going to have hamstring issues. He's going to have knee issues. He's going to have back problems. He's done. He's done. And I don't say that in a nonchalant way because I'm just trying to do it for clicks. He's done, mate. He is done. He's done. Glad recover injuries quickly. Xerxes, Mazraoui, Mason Mount looks like he's doing it the right way. Mason Mount's done as well, mate. What? Again, Mason Mount is done. Like, I think what people don't realize about Mason Mount is he still has it. He's got a career-ending injury that he's playing through. Like, Mason Mount is not the guy. What I want to do with Mount is get him playing this year, sell him as well. Mason Mount is not long term. Mason Mount is not going to play till he's 30. One bad tackle, one overstretch, one too many games. Mason Mount is done. He's got a career-threatening injury. So Mason Mount isn't for the long term. Martinez, not for the long term. No, as Neil said there, my friend did an ACL. He never played again. I mean, I played football for a long, long, long time. The reason why I quit playing when I was about 30s, I saw so many people around me getting ACLs. They did so many. They did the both the anterior and the interior as well. And like, nah, not for me. Once you've done an ACL, forget about it. I think this is why I think I've lasted so long and able to run now still is because I've stopped playing, because ACLs are some of the worst things that you can possibly do. So where we are, guys, I think we're going to see a bunch of spin. I think we're going to see so much spin coming over in the next couple of days, trying to spin this crap, and then they'll be talking about the January window, next window. We need to be careful. But where I'm at on this right now is that I think that Amorim isn't happy. I think it's 50-50 whether he walks or not. Will he be here by Christmas? I don't think he gets sacked. I think he walks. I almost don't think the club are bothered about it in terms of they won't have to pay him off. He's a United fan, been all around the world. Exactly. All world watch. Exactly. I take my hat off to people that go around the world to watch his club. They do not deserve what is happening at this club right now. And the one final thing that I will say on this is that what we've got to do this season is that we've got to basically live on hoping and praying, okay, and being optimistic. We need to be optimistic that Amorim can do something with his squad. We've got to be optimistic that the teams around us. Um, Toxic said, "Yeah, you can recover ACL. I'm not disputing that at all." Um, Verts is young again. I'm not disputing that ACL you can recover from that. I'm not disputing it. But Martinez at 28 years old, if it was just one injury, I get it. But when he's clearly got injuries now, when you've put injury on top of injury and then add an ACL onto that, and then you're going to ask him to play in a position where you need to be mobile up and down that pitch and you need him to be intense. Will he be better than a Casemiro? Probably, but he's just not going to do it. I think he's done. I do. I think he'll come back. I think he'll come back, and I think he'll be okay for a couple of games. But he's not going to last long. He's not going to last long. I mean, I don't know when his contract expires, but if we offer him a new contract, I think we're crazy. I think we need now to purge. As much as I love him, I think he's a great player. I think we need to purge these sorts of players. I think we need to let him go on free. We let Luke Shaw go. I mean, if we can sell these players, great. But I would say, these sorts of players now need to go. So I think before I go, Amorim, 50-50. I think those of you who are Amorim out, I think it almost suits the club for him to walk away at some point. Ugarte redemption incoming. Toxic. I really really hope so, my friend. I would be the happiest on that one. I am right now. I'm not against any of these players. So please don't misunderstand. Anybody who's watching this, do not misunderstand that I'm against these players because I really am not. But I think we have to be realistic about each one of these players. And I think it's okay to say that Casemiro doesn't have the legs. I'll still support him. I'll still support him. If Martinez comes back, I will support him. But I'm just hoping because that's a lot exactly toxic. And mate, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not calling your opinion out. I absolutely don't disagree. And this is what I'm saying about this season is that we are living this season on hopes and dreams. We're hoping that Amorim can fix this. We're hoping these players come back. We're optimistic that we can win some games. We're hoping that we get fifth or sixth in the league on account of other teams not playing as well. Instead of taking the ball by the horns and taking our own league into our own hands, we're hoping that other teams lose and not do as well. How pathetic is that? And I'm not calling you guys pathetic. I'm not calling the fan base pathetic. What I'm saying is that as a view in life, imagine you want to get something, but the only reason you get it is because others fail. Instead of you working hard, instead of you trying to be the best, instead of trying to achieve something off of your own back by being the best, sometimes luck happens, right? I get that. But imagine basically winning or getting fourth or fifth because other people around you are so bad. I just think that's pathetic. I think as an ethos of Ineos, I do. I think it is absolutely pathetic. Official United Player of the Month nominees. Let me toxic. Let me get that into the. Let me put that as a poll, my friend. Let me. Can I end this one? In poll. Let me start another one. Okay, start poll, and we'll go. Who is player of the month? We'll go Euro We'll go Mbumo. Mbumo. We'll go Delete. 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 What have we got? Mbumo. Delete. There you go. Hesty says Amorim outers can say Amorim has got all the players he wants in full preseason he needs is not true. Exactly, Hesty. Exactly. I don't disagree with you. I think you're spot on. I do. I think you are spot on. Martinez contract out in 2027. Neil, I wouldn't give him a new contract. The vote is hard. Who gets mine? I would say that I think for me, I think that Euro gets it for me. I think Euro's probably been the most consistent player. I think all three deserve it, to be honest with you. Mbumo maybe should get it just to give him the confidence, but I think Euro for me is the one who should get it. I do. I think he's been the most consistent. Yeah, I think for me, that's what I'm at. Delight, Mr. Consistent. Mr. Consistent. Exactly. I know. Again, Mr. Consistent. No, I don't disagree with that. He was walking off the pitch better. He has Spartan sprain on ankle. He's going to be back after the international break. What Mason Mount? To be honest with you, Lucky, I mean, Mason Mount to me, no, I would JB. No, would I JB? Yeah, for me, I think you're right. I think I wouldn't give him another contract. I'd run his contract down. Cunha or Mount, Lucky. Cunha for me all day long. Mason Mount, yeah, Mason Mount for me is not it. Like, he does some good stuff. It's not for me. He really isn't for me. But I get it. I get what people like him. You know, he's one of the livelier people in this team. But for me, yeah, is I think he's done. I think he's. You watch. He's going to be out again for 6 months. But I hope I'm wrong. I really don't wish that to be the case. But let's just see what happens. So, guys, I am going to go. Great show again. I love it. I'll probably do a vertical stream tonight. I'm just trying to test this all out. I'm going to do some stuff behind me as well. I do have plans for that. I've got all plans, different plans. But yeah, no, I just need to decide what's best for the channel. As I say, there will be I think it is, isn't it? I think it's still open for free. I think free agents can come at any time. I think. Tulip places, hey JB, hello Tulip. I hope you're doing really well today. So yeah, that's where I'm at on this. Exactly, hit the like button. I will probably do a vertical stream this evening. Again, as I say, I'm going to flip between this and the vertical streams. I think the vertical streams work probably better at the moment, just because I just think it just gets to more people. So you're going to see me flit between the two sort of streams. Yeah. On that note, guys, thank you for being here. As always, you know, it is just unbelievable. You guys, the support that you guys have shown me, this channel, you're here. You know, guys, you just are unbelievable. I mean it. You know, I don't just say this stuff, but it's things that I do really mean. So I will be back today at some point. I'll be back this evening. In the meantime, give me some suggestions for content. Very soon, this channel, I'm gonna put memberships on here. Obviously, I will be giving a bunch of free ones, you know, so those people who have been here for the longest time, You can get all the badge next to your name and all that sort of stuff as well. Obviously, I'll be giving a lot of those out for free as well on the road with JB. Give me some suggestions about content. I do want to do some long form content that is not live as well. So I'll probably stick some of that on there as well. I've got some ideas for videos like my all time 11 and why, doing videos on some players as well, doing some analysis kind of stuff as well. But, and I'll put that under the member section as well. So, it's going to go a new segment on the road to JB. I mean, that'd be quite an interesting one, actually. I wouldn't mind doing it. Let's see how we do. Yeah, who knows? Put in your suggestions. Get into the comment, niche fan legend. Get into the comments, guys. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know. Let me know where you want the channel to go, because as much as I can come up with ideas, I think sometimes the best ideas come from the subscribers. So the history of it in UFC, I think that's a very, very good one as well. So um, I'll collect them together, and then let's see how I get on. So guys, have a good rest of your afternoon, morning, day, wherever you are in the world. And of course, thank you for being here. I'll see you very soon, probably on a vertical stream. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care and stay safe. I'll see you very soon.